Welcome. It's time for my 2005 Prius. It's got almost 120,000 on it, and one of the things, well, there's several things you got to do at 120,000, and one of them is the serpentine belt or drive belt. I prefer drive belt. That all it does is turn the water pump. Basically all it does, but it says it needs to be changed. Not having any problem with it, but I like to keep everything on this car serviced when it says to service, and he says the drive belt should be changed now. So we're gonna see if we can change it. I bought a Gates. You never know what brand to buy, but I bought this one off of eBay. I double checked it. It's supposed to be the right one. Okay. At 120,000 miles, I'm going to change the brakes. I've already changed the plugs. They were due at 120, but rather than do it all at the same time, I've just tried to do it a little time. Sorry about the plugs. I changed the plugs and PCV valve at the same time, and something fouled up. I don't know whether it was YouTube or my camera or what, but I lost the footage on changing the plugs. So I've changed cameras since then, and so maybe we won't have no problem with that this time. Battery going dead, first one thing, another. But 120,000 miles, it's brakes, the drive belt, the oil, the filter, the engine oil filter, the cabin filter, the transmission. I changed it at 60,000, so I'm gonna change it to 120, so it's 60,000 miles. I already changed the coolant. It's due to be changed at 100,000, and I changed the coolant at 100,000. I didn't make a video on that because I hadn't started making videos at that time. I think that's all at 120,000. I can't think of anything else. And of course, check everything. But first thing we're going to do is take this hose off of the breather, and that'll give us access to the tensor bolt that will loosen it. It's down right underneath there. Let me take this off, and then I'll come back to you. Push this out of the way. Over here, you see what you're seeing. There's the bolt you loosen the tensor with, and over at the side is I think it's a 14 millimeter that you have to loosen up the tension on the belt. And then of course this one here, it loosens up the idler pulley itself. Okay, let me get to the stuff to do that. Let's check to make sure that's a 14. And it is. Yeah, it's a 14 millimeter to loosen up that side bolt. You have to get one a little shorter. Yeah, Yeah, I will. I'll have to get one a little shorter. Not a deep well. Be right back. Okay, I'm just going to use a wrench. I've got one of these with a ratchet in it. See how that does. I'm going to have to get one with a little more leverage. I wound up having to, well, I had it here. I put a breaker bar on that. I tried different wrenches and ratchets, and I might have could have busted my knuckles and got it off, but I had to break it loose with a breaker bar. So it's on there really good. This probably hasn't never been changed. Yeah, go back to a swivel ratchet, and I put a little more light on that. I hope you can see better. After several tries with different things, I wound up having to use my torque wrench. That thing was on there really hard to give me enough leverage. Didn't have any trouble with the torque wrench getting it off with a 14mm socket. It's loose enough now there. I'm just going to take that bolt off and the little washer cover off. I thought I wouldn't have to take that off, but I will. There's the pulley. And if I can get it off here. And there it comes. See how it looks after 120,000 miles. Ooh. Can you see that? 120,000 miles. It looks like it needs changing. So I would say change it at 100,000 miles. Okay. Let me check the new belt. Make sure they're the same. There's the old belt and the new one. They look like they're the same. Looks like it's the same. Now the tricky part is getting this on that bottom belt. Some people take the wheel off, and there's a cover you can take off. I was going to try it without it, but I may have to do that myself. We'll see. I guess I better get this off. I don't want to knock it off and lose it. I'm going to put my light down underneath there and see if I can see better. That helps a little bit. You don't have a whole lot of room. I guess if you did take that cover off, it would maybe make it easier to get the belt on, but it would take quite a bit of time to take all that off. We'll give it a try this way. See how it goes. If I can get my arm down in there far enough to get it on that camshaft pulley, get a smaller arm. It's hanging up here on the little sensor deal. I can feel the bottom of it. Thought I had it on there. I'll cut you off a minute so you don't just have to watch me struggle there, and I'll fill you in on what I. Okay, we're back. These other videos on YouTube, they're kind of leaving out a lot of stuff. Anyway, you might, with a whole lot of time and a lot of skint knuckles and bleeding, you might get that belt on from the top. But it can get hung up behind the crankshaft pulley, and it's hard to get out. A whole lot of things can happen. So I wound up taking the wheel off, and I think that's the way you need to do it. And I wire tied it so it wouldn't jump off, and I just it was just one little thing to pull off there to pull this cover back, and I just strapped it up to the front of the car with a wire strap. So I'd recommend you just go ahead and take the wheel off. You save yourself a lot of problems. Okay, put it around the crankshaft pulley, put a little wire tie there so it don't jump off. You don't have a lot of room, that's the problem. And then come back up here, get it around the outside idler, and I know I took the cover off of this idler at the top, the adjustable one, and but I wouldn't recommend doing that. Leave it on there, because you need the pulley on there to set your belt on to get it straight down through there. So I'd loosen it, and then I had to use like I showed you before, I had to use this torque wrench I had because I needed a longer handle to break it. It's under 30 foot-pound pressure, and if it's kind of rusted on there and all, that's hard to get off with just a wrench or ordinary ratchet, and you don't have a lot of room. But I just happen to have a torque wrench, and so since I did have the torque wrench and it worked better there, I just went ahead and torqued it at 30 pounds pressure like he said. And then you have to have a pretty long extension to get down there to be able to turn that. And you need to tighten that thing where it's, I'd say, tight as a rubber band that you can just mash a tiny bit. It requires 1/8, pressing down on it about 1/8 inch, and like there's any way you can measure that really. But I felt to the old one before I took it off, and it was tight. It was really tight. So I just put it back like the other one, and I'll run it a little bit, and I'll check on it again to make sure it's tight enough. But there you are. Not as easy as the other eBay people say it is. You don't have a lot of room in there unless you got little bitty hands and little bitty arms. So recapping, go ahead and take the wheel off, no big deal. Jack it up, put you a safety jack under it, pull that little cover back where you can see it, wire tie it so it don't jump off. Remember to cut that wire tie before you crank it up. But I would just leave that pulley on, because if you take it off, it all comes apart and you got to figure out which way it goes because it's got a bearing in it. Just leave it on there and loosen it real loose, because it helps putting your belt on if it's on there. If you can, torque it to 30. If you can't, just tighten it as tight as you can, and then adjust the tension out. It says 8/10 of an inch, but just feel of it and get it as tight as a rubber band. Just get it tight so that when you press on it, it just barely moves down. And of course, recheck it after you've run it a while. Okay, there it is. Not an impossible job, but some of the few videos I saw on here showing how to do it kind of left out a lot of the hard parts. It's not like easy, but it can be done. And of course, if you'll just go ahead and take the wheel off, pull that little cover back where you can get to the bottom, and put a wire tie on there to hold it in place. It's not that bad. Okay, I'll put my tar back on and cut that wire tie. Remember to do that. And then we'll either stop here or I'll continue on and put, I do have a new breather to put in here, probably put that on, and I do have the cabin filter, so I may put those on. Okay. It's pretty simple, but I did draw a diagram here I forgot to put on there. It's basically just that top pulley around the crankcase down here, and then on the back of the belt goes around the water pump. Basically just turns the water pump is what it does. Okay, I forgot to show you my little rough diagram. Thanks for watching. Here it is running with a new belt on it. You can see the lettering there in white. That tells you it's got a new belt on it. Now I want to show you the old belt again. Maybe you can see that. Step out here in the light a little better. It was really old and rotten. Hard to get it in focus there. Maybe you can see it there. It was definitely time to change it. Okay, thanks for watching. Hey, I decided just to go ahead and put these filters on. I've got them. I ordered these off of eBay. It's the cabin filter and the engine filter. So this is real simple. Most everybody knows how to do this. You can get these filters way cheaper on eBay than anywhere else. If you got time to wait for it, it's going to take you about a week to get them. Well, this one doesn't look very dirty. I changed this as the maintenance schedule says to do it. It's a little dirty, you know, but ever since I've owned this car, I've went right by the book on maintenance. Like I need to wipe it out in there a little bit. Get a rag. Forget how often you change these. I have a maintenance schedule that I printed off the internet that I've used ever since I got the car. New one out of the bag. I think if you buy these filters down here at the parts stores here in our town, if they even have them in stock, they kind of do now, they'll wind, like for this one here, they wind up charging you about $30 or even more for it. These were $11 shipping and all. And that's an amazing difference. Of course, if they put all these tariffs on there like they're talking about doing, we may not get stuff like this that cheap anymore. Who knows what's the best thing to do? It's not for me to say one way or the other. That's a pretty easy job. The main thing I was pointing out there is how you can get these so much cheaper on eBay than buying the parts store. And regular maintenance. This motor here, you know, I've got almost 120,000 on it. It's right at it. I've never put water on this motor. Every time I do something, I just take a rag and wipe it off. Used to on just regular gasoline engine cars, I would wash the motor about every time I wash the car. And since this is electric, I don't know, you could probably do it, but you see how clean it is. This is 100,000 miles, and this motor still looks like new. And all I've done is just wipe it off when I have the hood open. Give it a good wipe down. And sometimes I'll spray WD-40 around just to keep bolts from rusting or something like that. And that kind of shows you what it looks like if you just take a little time. Wipe it off. Okay. We'll move on to the cabin filter. So just hang on there. Okay, we'll change the cabin air filter. I've got the door open and open the glove compartment there. This is the maintenance schedule that I printed off the internet that I've been following ever since I owned the car. I know you've got one in your book, but this is more detailed on everything to check. And this is the 120,000 mile schedule here, which that's where we're at on the car, just almost there. I was just doing a little bit of it at a time. And notice there I've done changed the PCV valve, and I changed the plugs at 100,000, and they needed it. It says to do it here on 120, but that's pushing it. I'd do them at 100. And I changed the brake fluid, and I cleaned the battery cooling fan. I've got another video that shows that. I may have one on the brake fluid. I can't remember, but this one, that's easy. Just take the brake fluid out and replace it. And I started doing that a few years ago on all the cars I got. But of course on here it's the cabin filter, engine filter, which we just did, oil and oil filter, rotate the tires, automatic transmission, and of course just check the ball joints and dust covers, and brake line. Just look at everything under the car and see if anything. And I just changed the drive belt. And it says engine valve clearance, but you don't have to worry about that unless you're hearing a pecking noise. Then you probably want to do that. Of course, check the exhaust and front differential. That's a little bit. That's the same thing on these cars. That is the transmission, you know, or differential, whatever you want to call it. It's the same thing. You change it, you change both of them. Fuel lines and the fuel cap. I looked at it. It looked fine. I had already changed it about 50,000 miles or something, but it looks fine, so I'm going to skip it this time. Gearbox and steering linkage. And just basically look at everything and check it out. When I change the oil, some of these things I'll video and show you when I change the transmission fluid. But that I printed that off the internet, and I'm sure you probably still can get it. It's easier to write on this than it is to, I don't like to mess my book writing on it. But anyway, open the glove compartment off, and there's a little rubber holder over here that holds your glove compartment open. Right here, if you can see that. It's rubber, so you just pull it off. Then it just sits out. Nothing no easier than that. And go through up in here. It's just got a little clip on it on the side. This is the unclip. Just push it. You push it in. And it comes right out. Simple as that. This is the little clip. The two little clips you just push in on this and they release. Nothing to it. Got a few leaves in it. And it's important to change this because this has to do with how your air conditioner works. So it's a good thing to change this. I'm gonna carry this around and dump it out. I'll be back. Won't be no rats in it. I'll just be back. I imagine if you never changed this filter here, you'd probably have trouble with your air conditioner, and that would be awful to have trouble with your air conditioner, especially on one of these cars because they're electric. Probably cost you more than a car was worth when it gets old. It's got some little tabs it sticks under. They'll charge you $30 for this filter at the auto parts store. I don't see where they get that. They do have a carbon filter. I don't know if you got allergies or something, it might be worth paying a little more for. You know, you never know. Just like organic, you don't know whether organic's better or worse. And it just fits back in there. Real simple. I've got a Chevrolet and it's quite a bit harder to do. And you just push it in there until it snaps. And that's it. Can't be no simpler than that. And these little hinges here, as you can see, they just set in that slot. No snapping or nothing. They just line up to that opening, sit in there, and get your little shock holder, rubbery thing, and get back over this little pin. And that's it. Oh, we got to squeeze this top part in. I forget about that. Got to kind of squeeze it in. There it is. Easier enough. No reason nobody can't change that. Now, I got to fill out my what I've done on my maintenance thing, and that's it until it gets 120. And when it gets 120,000, I'm going to change the brakes. I just looked at the brake on this front wheel here now, and it's like the other one. It's got about that much on the front side, so it's probably got half that on the back, and it's just almost 120,000. I'm gonna get some good brakes and put on it. I'll tell you all about that when I do it. Change the oil, change the transmission fluid, and do all the checking on everything else. And we'll be ready for another 100,000. Thanks for watching.